Hi, everybody. Mike Kennedy, Vermont Bar Council, coming to you from the office today. I actually do come here. Don't just do everything from the garage or in my house. Today's Friday. Two different things to acknowledge today. First, it's the 276th Five for Friday Legal Ethics Quiz. It's in the blog. Feel free to enter. Email me your answers. Perhaps you'll appear on Monday's honor roll. More importantly, in the subject of today's video, today is Friday of Wellbeing Week in Law. Now, most of you know from prior years and my prior posts and videos that Wellbeing Week in Law is a national event that's designed to raise awareness about well-being, wellness, and how important it is within the profession that we continue to address our well-being and wellness. Each day of the week is set up to have a different theme, a different focus, with each theme, daily theme, being a different component of our overall well-being. Today's focus is our emotional well-being. So what I'm going to talk about today is emotional intelligence and how that impacts our overall wellness. Now, I've done this in prior years on this day. I'm no psychiatrist or psychologist. I'm not trained in anything like that, but I'm just sharing some thoughts from the material put out by the Institute for Wellbeing Week in Law. The Institute is really the main driver behind this week. Put out some great stuff that I've read, and I think I can repeat to you. So first, what are we? So I use a basketball construct when I talk about this issue. So that's why we've got the whiteboard behind me. This is what it's like to be a player on one of my teams for the game, going over the plan or the scouting report. Can't really read my writing. Occupational hazard, I guess. So what are we talking about when we talk emotional intelligence? We're talking about recognizing and understanding our emotions and their impact on us. First, why is it important to have to be emotionally intelligent or to have a high emotional IQ? Well, the research, number one, it's important for our well-being. And the higher our emotional IQ, the better we are with our emotional intelligence. Studies will show that typically healthier, better, more well. Studies have also shown, taking the wellness out of it, that those with an increased higher levels of emotional intelligence are likely to be better at communication, conflict resolution, and time management. When we think about what the skills are of lawyers and legal professionals, there are three pretty important skills when it comes to what we do, right? Being good communicators, being good at conflict resolution, and being good at time management. So that's why, this is one of the important aspects of our well-being to address, because not only does it help our well-being, it has these other benefits that are relevant to what we do as well. First, when it comes to emotional intelligence, one thing that's important to remember is we are going to have negative emotions. Bad things are going to happen to us. People are going to treat us in such a way that it makes us react negatively. That is perfectly okay. It is perfectly okay to experience negative emotions. You should expect that there are going to be times when you do experience negative emotions. The key when it comes to emotional intelligence is not trying to avoid negative emotions, but is to understand that they exist and understand how we should respond when we are dealing with a negative experience or emotion. That's the key, our response. And this is where the basketball thing comes in. You've heard me speak about this, maybe you've read the blog post. When I was coaching basketball, I used the phrase win with players. And that doesn't mean win the game. Win stands for what's important now. And in the basketball world, I used it like this. Here's an example. Imagine a player takes a shot, clearly gets fouled, which causes the shot not to go in. The referee, for whatever reason, doesn't call a foul and play continues. The referee missed it. That happens. The player experiences a negative emotion. What's important now is not for that player to start screaming at the referee or to get frustrated and just stand there and stop playing, or to yell at me to yell at the referee. What's important now is for the player to move on to the next play, to keep playing. Player can't control the fact that the referee didn't call the foul. The player, however, can control how the player reacts to the referee's failure. That is by continuing to play. So when you have that negative emotion, it's okay to feel frustrated as that basketball player who gets fouled. It's okay. That's going to happen during the course of a game, during the course of a season. But what's important now is how you react to that negative emotion that you're experiencing. Somewhat related, several years ago, my dad's wife sent me an article written by Sharon Salzberg. I don't know her. She does national writer. I can't remember for who. But Sharon Salzberg wrote a great article about winning your 3 feet of influence. She used the phrase winning as in winning that not the what's important now. And what she talked about in the article was that we all have a little bubble, a circle, that's 3 feet in diameter, say, or radius. I'm not sure what she used, but you get the point. Small circle. And in that circle, we control. We are in charge. And to win our 3 feet of influence, what we need to do is recognize that sometimes people are going to enter our circle and they're going to cause us to experience a negative emotion. We can't control the fact that they came into our circle and did something that made us have that negative reaction. We can control, however, how we react to them. And it's the positive response as opposed to the negative response. Acting with a high emotional IQ as opposed to acting with a low emotional IQ that not only makes us better, but it perhaps makes them better too. And I like to combine the two sort of thoughts. What's important now, and 3 feet of it, the controlling our 3 feet of influence, as just, I call it, let's win our 3 feet of influence. Remembering that within our little circle, what's important now is how we respond to the people who come in. Related to those two things, I like to say, find the positive and be the positive. So there are studies that show that people who are constantly negative, to get out of that loop of being negative all the time, people who provide help, and remember, if you need help, it's okay to ask for help. Help is available. And what we're talking about today is the short term, the email you get that bothers you, that causes that negative response, the interaction you have that bothers you, that causes that negative response. We're not talking about people who long term constantly feel like every response they have to something is negative. If that's you, long-term issue, remember, it's okay to ask for help, and help is available. Today, we're more focusing on the short term. However, when professionals deal with those people who are having the long term, always negative, they tell them to find the positive, and specifically, they tell them that this: for every one negative thing that happens to you, for one negative emotion you have, real well-being, real wellness comes from counteracting that experience with multiple positive experiences. And sometimes we have to find those on ourselves, on our own. And I know that can be hard. What I like to say, though, or suggest, when you're considering how you will respond to the negative emotion that somebody else causes you to experience, is to be the positive. Maybe that person, we know that person who has caused you, come into your circle and caused you to have a negative emotion, they need 3 or 4 or 5 positive things to happen to them in order to get out of whatever is causing them to be so negative. Let's us be one of those 3, 4, or 5 things. Let's us be one of the positives that they need. So for ourselves, we need to find the positive, productive response that's a sign of a high emotional IQ, helps our own well-being. And maybe when we do, by providing that positive response, we impact for the better that other person's emotional outlook, their wellness, and their well-being. So that's my thought on that topic today. Remember, bad things are going to happen. It's okay. What's important now is how you respond to those bad things. And if you respond positively with high levels of emotional IQ, high levels of emotional intelligence, you will win your 3 feet of influence. And the more of us who win our 3 feet of influence, the better we're all going to be. Before I end, I always mention the Kentucky Derby on this Friday on the Friday before the Kentucky Derby in my post on that day. I wanted, since it's Five for Friday number 276, to go with the two, recommend the 2, the 7, and the 6 horses, in this year's Derby. Not gonna do that. The odds for the 2 horse are, excuse me, morning odds today, 15-1. The 7 is a 50-1, and the 6 is a 12-1. So I suppose if you play the 2, 7, 6 in some combo and it comes in, you're gonna win some money. I'm going my picks today in no particular order. The 5, the 10, and the 15. The 5 is Tap It Trace. The 10 is Practical Move, and the 15 is Forte. My long shot I'll add in is the 16, which is Raise Cane, 50-1. Raise Cane actually happens to be, so the 16 horse in this year's Kentucky Derby is the half brother of the 15 Forte. I think that's pretty cool. I figured out that if you go the 5, the 10, and the 15, that adds up to 30. If you play the 16 as a long shot and add that number in, that adds up to 46, which if you add back the original 30, gets you to 276 on 5 for Friday, number 276. So that's why I like some combination of the 5, the 10, the 15, and the 16. Thanks for listening. Remember, high emotional IQ is a good thing. Win your 3 feet of influence, and have a great weekend.